Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and because I can't read a calendar, this is Ship Updates. Now, first off, this week Ben was out sick, so there wasn't really all that much in terms of ship updates, or at least it didn't look like there was going to be all that much on RTV today, but combined with the Tony Zurovec interview and some somewhat reveals in RTV today, we actually do got some good information. Not a lot of it, but we do have some really good stuff. So let's get started. Now, it started off, people were asking, is 2.5 feature locked yet? And they said, no, they're still working on it. And people were asking, is 2.5 going to be out in times for out in time for Gamescom? And the answer was, that is the goal. Now, a lot of people have been, myself included, theorizing that we're possibly going to get the hangar-ready Caterpillar. I mean, we've seen so many shots of the Caterpillar, and we know that the Caterpillar is the next hangar-ready ship. Once again, that is the goal. That's what they've stated. It's the Caterpillar, and then it's going to be the Herald after that. And so we don't have a definite word as to whether or not we're getting our Caterpillar hangar-ready, but we also did see on ATV this week, we saw a bunch of shots of the Herald, or actually some video rather, of moving around in the Herald's interior, and it's looking a lot better. Not as finished as the Caterpillar, mind you, but it is really starting to come together, and they said it's about 80 to 85% done. So that looks pretty cool. And I think, honestly, to have the Caterpillar to go along with Grim Hex, I think that is going to be, that would be a pretty damn big patch, and I am getting pretty hyped up for 2.5, I got to admit. Now, we know the next concept sale would be a flyable ship. We know it's the Argo, and so people were asking today, of course, what's the price going to be on the Argo? And Lando said, well, they're having discussions back and forth about it right now. No price has been set. People also asked, what will it do once it gets there? And he said he's not too sure about functionality right now, but he would like to see what we are going to do with it. Now, going back to ATV and the Tony Zurovec interview, we found out that cargo is going to be, I guess, he said, I believe, the next profession, but I kind of think it's really the first real profession that we're going to be getting in the future. Now, he didn't say 2.5, but in the future. And that involved, of course, coming up with a system to automate the removal and, placing cargo on your ship, a UI to sell. And so obviously you're going to have a couple of destinations, a place, a point A and a point B. Otherwise, there's no point. So it is looking very interesting, and of course with the Caterpillar and with the Starfarer, that'd be a pretty cool system to have. Now, when he was talking about professions, he said the next profession up would be mercenary, so sort of protecting the cargo ships and whatnot. And then after that would be piracy and smuggling. And then looking forward to later next year, he said we'll be doing salvage and mining to go along with the release of those ships. Now, the two front runners right now for salvage and mining, because they're the two ships that are basically waiting to go into production. Now, we found that they reiterated with the Reclaimer last week, and we had heard earlier that the next big batch of ships that they're looking at beyond the Herald and beyond the Caterpillar are the Reclaimer, the Orion, and the Merchantman. Now, of course, the Merchantman isn't in production, but we heard last week that things were proceeding on schedule, which I assume is they're designing the look of the Tavaran race, and things are moving along at, I guess, what they feel is an acceptable pace. So hopefully, I guess they're hoping that once Squadron 42 kind of clears the board, or at least the ships clear the board, then they'll be able to move at least the Reclaimer, it's seemingly first, into production. So possibly your Merchantman, but when they're talking about mining and they're talking about salvage and those ships being ready next year, possibly you could be flying your Reclaimer and salvaging next year, flying your Orion and mining next year. Now, we also found out that they haven't made a definite decision yet on where the Orion's cockpit is going to be. You remember in some shots it was off to the side, and then in other shots I believe it was up top. They're still kind of trying to make up their mind on that. And it is also possible that the small miner and the as of yet unannounced small salvage ship, or what I theorize is going to be a small salvage ship, I know there's a bunch of people who share that, belief. Those ships could end up going first if they're easier, smaller, basically take less resources to bring them into game to match up with salvage and mining. So we don't know for sure. I mean, you remember like last year we were going like, oh my god, why did the Herald all of a sudden go into limbo? I thought it was going to be the next ship. And so we can't really say for certain, but this is the way it looks like they're planning things out. And that's really, really cool, because I know the Orion and the Reclaimer are two ships that are, people are really, really anticipating. But now going all the way back to the Argo, because there was one other little thing that came out when people were talking about the Argo today, which is someone asked Ben. Someone asked Jared, is the Argo going to fit inside the Polaris? And he said yes. And then he retracted his answer and said probably, but we're not sure until both ships are built out. So for those of you who are kind of imagining the Polaris and trying to figure out what shape it would take, the dimensions, one thing that you'll have to add to your imagination and into your theory crafting is it's got a space in it that's probably big enough to fit an Argo. Just a little snippet, but I guess we'll just have to wait until, quote unquote, later this year to find out exactly what the Polaris is going to look like, exactly how big it is. But I mean, it's a bit of a tease, but it's something, it's something to think about when you're kind of theory crafting in your head, as we all love to do. Now, there was a couple of other little things. They were talking about the Phoenix and the weapon sizes on the Phoenix, because of course the Phoenix is one size up from the regular constellations. People were asking, is that still the plan? And Lando said, of course, it's game development, things change all the time, but so far, that is the plan going forward. That the Phoenix will, of course, maintain its weapon size superiority over the other constellations. And they once again reiterated that the Caterpillar weapon sizes, they won't know until hangar ready, and then once again it could change again, but right now they don't know. So once it's in the hangar, that's when we'll have our first set of real specs that we can look at and figure things out from. So that is just about it for this week. Of course, now I am going to be beginning my vacation for 2 weeks, so sorry to throw everybody off, and sorry if this episode kind of came out of left field and you weren't really planning on watching it. But there it is. So I will see you in 2 weeks. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and thanks for watching.
Quantum travel initiated.